and we'll continue our discussion. Okay. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-Salakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sopadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Desatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we'll do a quick revision till what we have discussed as of now in chapter 8. So in chapter 8, the title is Attaining the Supreme, How to Attain Lord, the Supreme Goal. And this chapter we started with questions of Arjuna. Arjuna asked about 8 things. What is Brahman, Adhyatmam, Karma, Adibhutam, Adidevyam, and Adiyagyan, how it resides in the body, and Prayana Kali, how can devotees remember you? And Krishna answers about these 8 things, and then 7 things Krishna answers very quickly in 2 verses, and the 8 things Prayana Kali, how can we remember Krishna at the time of death? Krishna continues more about that, and Krishna says about remembering Krishna. If you remember Krishna, you are sure to go to Krishna's abode. And then Krishna contracts, he gives another way, like, if you remember something else, you go to there as well. So remembering Krishna and remembering something else at the time of death, both are different. And then Krishna says that no, generally whatever people think, they attend there. And it's very, Prabhupada says that it's become very difficult to remember Krishna if we do not practice Krishna consciousness throughout our daily life, right? So that becomes difficult to remember Krishna if you don't practice it regularly. So it's good to practice Krishna consciousness in our daily schedule. And then Krishna says that to Arjuna that, okay, remember everything, and always by remembering me, perform your duty, perform a prescribed duty, right? And then even if Prabhupada says that if you follow this principle of Krishna saying that perform an activity, though Krishna says that yuddhacha, to Arjuna that okay, fight by remembering me. So generally, if we follow this principle of Krishna saying that remembering Krishna and performing our duty, then basically we can remember Krishna at the time of death as well. And even if you can't remember, Krishna will help us to remember it. That's what Prabhupada says as well. And then Krishna says that control your mind and practice with undivided mind. Then in the last session we discussed about the ways to remember Krishna. There are different ways. So different way to remember Krishna. And Krishna is Kavim, he is omnipotent, he is omniscient, and his origin of all, he is Puranam. And in this way we discussed about 9 ways to remember Krishna in the verse number 9. And then Krishna describes about this the 6th chakra in our body that can be activated by yoga system, and which required more rigid practices like giving up all attachment, following celibacy, and uttering the Om syllable, kind of things like controlling the mind, the pranavayu. And at the end of those things, Krishna ends that this is not easy, but to attain Krishna easily by bhakti yoga. That was our last discussion of last week. Let me share the screen. We'll follow from there. Okay, here it is. So this was the 14th verse where we seen Krishna says, Annane chetasa satatam yo mam smrati nityasaha tasya aham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yogina. So anyone who remembers me without deviation, and I'm easy to obtain. So even we see the previous things, it becomes very difficult to control the mind and completely, like yogi practices and give up attachment, give up, follow proper celibacy and things. But at the end, Krishna says in 14th verse that anyone who remembers me without devotion, he attains my abode. How to do it? By engaging in devotional service. Right. So by engaging ourselves in devotional service, we can remember Krishna. Right. So there is a nice example quoted by Bhujan Prabhu in his book. So we'll just read that one and then continue from there. So this is a nice purport, as Prabhupada says about this, talks about Bhakti Yoga, this verse. And also we discussed about last week about the 5 ways how we engage ourselves with Lord in the different rasas or different mellows, Santarasha, Dashya, Shakhya, Vasalya, and Madhurya. So I'll read out this small story. It's from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And we'll continue. There's a small discussion happened with Gopal, a small boy, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So once Lord Chaitanya went to evacuate, and when he returned, he was holding his tongue. And when the devotees saw this peculiar sight, they asked him why he was doing that. And then Mahaprabhu replied that his tongue was acting so improperly that it would not stop chanting Hare Krishna even when he was engaged in such a filthy activity. Therefore, he was forced to hold his tongue to restrain it. At that time, a small boy named Gopala bravely spoke up. Gopala said, No, this is not the correct philosophy. Krishna's names are pure and should be chanted at all the times. For instance, if one were about to die, would he think, oh, this is an inauspicious, dirty time, and therefore I should not chant? No, at all times, regardless of external purity of the situation, one should, I'll repeat, no, at all times, regardless of external purity of the situation, one should remember Krishna and chant his name. Isn't it? So dying is not auspicious time, isn't it? Because, our relatives and everything, they cry out, and it's not auspicious for everyone as well. Right? That's why then Gopala says, no, you should not think that this is inauspicious place, but you should chant the holy name of Lord. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, you have properly understood the philosophy. You are my Guru, and you are my Gopala Guru. So that's how Mahaprabhu says that how by remembering Krishna at any point of time, actually we can remember Krishna at death as well. Right. So let's continue from here. And very importantly, Prabhupada in almost every verses, Prabhupada spoke about chanting, the importance of chanting Maha Mantra. Right. And he said this is the greatest blessing of Krishna conscious process by chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this way, Prabhupada says this way, a pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment. And similarly, the Supreme Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment as well. Right. So now in 2 verses, 15 and 16, Krishna is going to establish some more thing. Where he says, when remember me, see, earlier Krishna has described that if you go somewhere, if you remember something, you take this birth, right? And if you remember me, you come to my abode. So in these 2 verses, Krishna explaining that what happens when you remember me and we remember somewhere else. Let's see. Text 15, chapter 8, text 15. Mamupetya punarajanma dukkhalem asaswatam napanvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gata. After attaining me. So this 14th verse, how it says, one can easily obtain me, right? And the 15th verse starts saying that after attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world. So it means there is some world which is permanent, isn't it? That's why Krishna is saying the yogis after attaining me, they never return to this temporary world. How? And this gives a quality of this temporary world. How it is? Dukkhalem asaswatam, which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. So when they attain the spiritual world, when they go to Krishna's abode, which is the highest perfection, and they never return back to this temporary world, which is full of miseries. Dukhalayam asaswatam. Asaswatam means, be sure that it is full of miseries. And Dukhalayam is the place where we get dukkha. Right? A devotee, I think, long back, he was explaining this thing, how it is Dukhalayam. We may think, okay, we're actually enjoying this material world, but how it becomes Dukhalaya. He says, in a sandwich, there are two on the top, there's a bread, and the bottom is the bread, and the middle part is actually a small feelings is there. In a similar way, in our material life, there are full of miseries beside and next, but there is small happiness. So we, just to get this happiness again, we actually hanker again and go through this misery. Okay, no problem. If I work hard, if I spend some 20 hours a day, then I might get some earning, some good money, and then I'll enjoy it. Right. So to enjoy that, we struggle a lot. There is a nice story. Once, what happened? I think a philosopher, maybe a scientist, maybe. I'm just forgetting the context. And then he went to one of the village, and there he met. He was to cross a small kind of small river. Then he went into the boat, and he was going with the boat, and then this scientist, maybe a philosopher, who he asked this the person who was sailing this boat, he says, do you know physics? And he says, what it is? I don't know. So he said, you don't know physics? Then he wasted 25% of life. And then he moved ahead. And then the person, actually, he became in sorrow that, okay, I've lost my 25% of my life. And then he moved ahead. And then he says, do you know about mathematics? He says, no. He says, your 50% of life is being wasted. In this way, this person who was sailing the boat, he gets more disappointed. And then he proceeded ahead, and he asked something else. Do you know kind of science or chemistry or biology, something like that? And he says, your 25% of life has been spoiled, wasted. And there came somehow this huge storm came, and then the boat was actually about to turn back. And then this sailor is asked, oh, do you know how to swim? He says, no. He says, then back, your 100% life is wasted. The essence is, if you are on this ocean or river, if you don't know to swim and there is a storm, you can't save yourself. So in this material world, there is storms are coming. And if you don't know how to sail well, how to sail through these things, how to cross this from these remotes by taking shelter of Lord, then our life is the believable life, which is very rare, is get wasted. Right. So that's why Krishna is saying here that anyone who comes to me, he never returns to this temporary world, which is full of miseries. So whatsoever it is, this life really full of miseries. And there are so many examples given by our acharyas, by senior devotees. Even I think one devotee was sharing another story. He says that sometimes it happens that the rich people, they invite the brahmanas and for feasting and some doing yajnas. And then he said, okay. And then once this devotee was invited to their home, and the devotee said, okay, you can have prasada with us as well. And then the plate for the devotee was completely full, it has so many items and so many different dishes of the sweets and everything over there. And then the devotee said, okay, you sit as well. And he denied first, but somehow or other he agreed to sit. And then we sit, and this person's wife, he's brought a small plate with some very, very limited, some vegetables and chapati and drink. And then the devotee asks, this is a huge plate for me, so many variety of sweets and different items, and why not for yours? He said, the problem is I'm diabetic. So just imagine, though the person has so much things, so much wealth, but still he cannot enjoy it. Right. So the point is, that's how the misery comes up. Maybe we might have so much of money, but you won't be able to enjoy it. It's that's why it's called as full of miseries. These are the words of Krishna's Dukhalayam. Alayam means what? Alam means where we get in abandon, Aushadalaya, where you get medicines, Granthala, where you get the library of the books. That's why this world is called as Dukhalaya. Just 1 second. Okay. Yes. Okay, so that's the column. And ashashwatam means temporary, right? So then, Prabhupada says nicely that since this temporary material world is full of miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death, naturally, he who achieves the highest perfection and attains the supreme planet, Krishna Loka or Golok Vrindavan, does not wish to return here, because there is when we go to spiritual world, there is no these things. There is no birth, there is no old age, there is no disease, and there is no death. In fact, there is no miseries, right? It's Chinmay, right? So that's why the best way to go there by practicing Krishna consciousness and remain there, right? So Krishna explains here in this verse very clearly that anyone, by performing devotional service in the previous verses, and he even by these yogis in devotion, they come to my abode, which is the highest perfection of human life, right? And then if you see here, Prabhupada says that the Mahatmas receive transcendental message from the realized devotees and thus gradually develop devotional service in Krishna consciousness and become so absorbed in transcendental service that they no longer desire elevation to any material planet, even to Brahma Loka or heavenly planets, and nor they do even want to be transformed to any spiritual planet. They only want Krishna and Krishna's association and nothing else. Earlier I was saying that the pure devotee, they want wherever they may be, they just wanted to have in association of the devotees, where they can hear Krishna Katha, where they can glorify Krishna, where they can chant Krishna's holy name, and that is the highest perfection of life, right? And let's see the next. In 16 also, Krishna always play with the contracting way. So if you do this, you'll get this. If you don't do this, you'll get this one. And let's see what happens. Krishna says. So earlier Krishna says, if you remember something else, you'll get to the different planets. If you remember some devatas, you will go to their planet. If you remember me, you come to my planet. And here Krishna is saying again these things, that if you come to me, there is no rebirth. If you go anywhere else, there is certainly a rebirth. What he says, Abrahma bhona loka punara avartino arjuna mamupete tu kaunteya punar janmana vidyate. So from the highest planet in the world down to the lowest, all are places of miseries wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Right. So Krishna has repeatedly said this word earlier as well, but now he's again saying the same thing. Even if you go for anywhere else, still Brahma Loka, right? Prabhupada says, Brahma Bhona Loka means up to the Brahma Loka, the highest material planet. From Indra Loka, there is top, the Brahma Loka. If you go over there and to the lowest planet, all there may be hellish planets, right? Top to bottom, anywhere there's 40 planet system, wherever you goes, right? What happens? There is repeated birth and death. However, if anyone attains my abode, there is no more birth. Krishna says in 4.9 as well, isn't it? Janma karma chame divyam evam yo iti tattvataha tvekta deham punar janma nay iti mamil sarjuna. So anyone who knows my transcendental appearance and activities, by giving up this body, they do not come back again to this material world. Rather, they attain my abode, from where there is no dukhalem. There is no repeated birth and death, old age and disease. Right. So that's the Krishna's abode. So what happens? If you go to Krishna's abode, there is no punarjanma. If we are here, then punara avartino. It happens, we come down again. So what happens in general? So if we perform a pious activities, we elevate ourselves towards a higher planet, and even we can go to Brahmaloka, where we can have so much opulent, we enjoy there. And Prabhupada says, and even I was hearing lecture as well, that even if you go to Brahmaloka and if you do not practice Krishna consciousness, we have a good chance of falling down again to this material world. If you practice from there, we can go higher as well. But if you don't practice, it will a good chance to come back again to this material world. Right? By when this punya gets shin, so when our piety is about to finish, we come back again to this material world. Right? So let's see what Prabhupada says in the purport. So all kinds of yogis, karma, jnana, hatha, etc., eventually have to attain devotional perfection in bhakti yoga or Krishna consciousness before they can go to Krishna's transcendental abode and never return. So if you only perform karma yoga and do not take into bhakti yoga, then it's completely not true. You have to come back again in this material world, even the jnanis and the yogis as well. So if you remember, we have discussed earlier as well, even either you perform karma yoga, jnana yoga, hatha yoga, or ashtanga yoga, whatever process it is, you have to connect yourself to the Supreme Lord at one point of time. Otherwise, you're going to come back again. So those who attain the highest material planet, the planets of the devatas or demigods, are again subjected to repeated birth and death. So as persons on the earth are elevated to highest planets, people on the higher planets such as Brahmaloka, Chandraloka, Indraloka fall down to earth. Right. So the practice of sacrifice called Panchagni Vidhi, recommended in Chandogya Upanishad, enables one to achieve Brahmaloka. So by performing some activities, actually we can go to Brahmaloka as well by some yajnas and sacrifices, right? But again, the thing is that if you do not cultivate Krishna consciousness, then he must return to earth. Right. However, those who progress in Krishna consciousness on the higher planet gradually elevated to the higher and the highest planets. Another time, we'll talk about this universal devices and what it is. And Krishna speaks actually in next couple of verses about the day and life of Brahma and the things. We'll talk about this. Right. So, yeah, there's again another commentary by Baldev Vidyabhushan in his commentary. He says, when there is devastation of material universe, Brahma and his devotees who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness are all transferred to spiritual universe and to specific spiritual planets according to their desires. Even in spiritual planet, there are specific spiritual planets. It's not just only one, it's all variegated. So there are so many, like, Krishna's avatars, there are so many forms of Krishna's, and when we get attached to that, we get the planets of that, like Lord Rama, Lord Nrsimha, Bara, and all the things, right? So, and from text 17 and 18, from 72 onwards, Krishna explains about this material world and spiritual world, right? So here in 16th verse, I think, even in 15th verse, Krishna says that this is temporary world. It means something that is permanent, right? And here he says, Krishna, that from the highest planet to the material world down to the lowest, all places are places of miseries and where repeatedly birth and death take place. But one who attains my abode, this is spiritual planet, he never takes birth again. So Krishna is going to explain more about this material world and spiritual world. In text 17, he says, Sahasra Yuga Parayantam Aharyot Brahmano Vidu Ratrim Yoga Srastantam Teho Ratra Vido Jana. So by human calculation, 1,000 ages together, taken together from the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of the night. We'll see it, right? So the duration of Brahma is, Prabhupada actually completely here elaborate in purport about this life of Brahma, the days, the times of Brahma. So the duration of material universe is limited. It is manifested in the cycle of kalpas, or a kalpa is a day of Brahma. And one day of Brahma consists of 1,000 cycles of Chatra Yoga, or Satya Yoga, Treta Yoga, Dwapar Kali. So we'll discuss it, right? And then Prabhupada spoke about this, how this years happens, how many years there are, and then at the end, we'll see it. I'll just share one screen and I will discuss about this more, about this ages of Brahma. So as we see, we all have some ages, like 70, 80 years, 100 years. Earlier the people used to live thousands of years, and before that they used to live 10,000, and in Satya Yuga they used to live lakhs of years, right? In the similar way, Lord Brahma has also his time, right? So we will see it. I'll just read out the 18th verse and then we'll discuss about the 17 and 18 at one time, because this also talks about the same thing about Brahma's age, right? Avaktadvaktaya sarva prabhyavante ahar agame ratri agame praliyante tatra eva vyakta sangyate. At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifested state, and thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifested again. So what happens when the Lord Brahma's day comes? Like, we see sunlight, so we see our day has come out. When sun sets, our night comes. So in a similar way, when Lord Brahma's day begins, so all the living entity, we all actually goes back into unmanifested state. So because we all dissolved into Mahavishnu's body, right? And again, when the day comes, we actually all get manifested as well. At night, we all get merged into that unmanifested stage again, right? So we'll discuss that again. We'll take 19 as well. We'll discuss these 3, 16, 17, 18 one time. Bhuta grama saevayam bhutva bhutva praliyate ratre agame vasha partha pravayate ar agame. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all the living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. So there's annihilation happens at every moment. There are, even in Bhagavatam, we are discussing about, and there are 4 types of annihilation. We'll try to let's see, it will discuss over there. Okay, let's continue discussion over there about Lord Brahmas, and then we'll come back again. Give me a second, I'll share another screen. Hope I get it. Yes. Okay, can you see my screen now? If you need to enlargement, let me know. Is it visible?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, so this is the life of Brahma. I'm trying to zoom a bit more as possible. Is it better? Or remain the same? Okay, so we'll go from the bottom, we'll go to top. So what happens? There's a Kali Yuga, right? So in Kali Yuga, so there are 4 yugas. We all know Kali Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Satya Yuga, right? So we have 4 yugas, and the duration of Kali Yuga is 4,32,000 years, and Dwapar Yuga is the double of Kali Yuga, and Treta Yuga is the triple of Kali Yuga, and Satya Yuga is quadruple of Kali Yuga. So in this way, Kali Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Satya Yuga, this cycles goes on. Like we were discussing earlier, right now our body, whenever we give body, we get another body. So there are 8.4 million species. We go around all these things, either into sometimes on the heavenly planet, sometimes the lower planets, and sometimes onto animal form or kind of that, right? In that way, cycles happens of living entity. So the Yuga also they goes in the cycles. What happens? Satyuga, then Dwapara, then Kali. Satyuga, then Treta, then Dwapara, then Kali. And the cycle goes on. When Kali Yuga ends, again Satyuga starts. Right, and in between you could see the sun is called sandhyas. So sandhyas means overlapping of these two yugas. Right, Satyuga is there. So some people are very pious, and Treta is coming. Like in Dwapara, some like if you see this pastime of Parishit Maharaj. So Kali was entering and Dwapara was finishing. So that overlap time is called as sandhyas. Right, they overlap in that. So in this way, the Dibya Yuga is called as 4.32 million years. That comes out for one Dibya Yuga. Right. And then we'll go on the middle chart now. So what happens after that? So it's called Manvantar. Right. So in one Manu, there are 71 Dibya Yugas. Okay. So in one Manu, there are 71 Dibya Yugas. That's called as one Manvantar. So in one Manvantar, there are 71 Dibya Yugas. So let's go to the third one now. Right. So in this third is called as Kalpa, which is a day of Brahma. So what happens in the day of Brahma? There happens to be 14 Manus in the day and 14 Manus in the night as well. So it says that night is the same length. So in one day of Brahma, the 14 Manus the length. So what happens? 71 into 14. That becomes one cycle of in one day. That many Dibya Yuga comes, and so nearly 1,000 something actually. So we say thousands. So it's nearly 1,000 comes. So thousands Dibya Yuga happens in one day of Brahma. That's what Krishna says in that verse number 17. Right. So that's called as Kalpa. So what's Kalpa? One Kalpa is the one day of Brahma, and in that one day there are 14 Manus. 14 Manvantar comes up. So that's called as Manvantar. So Manvantar is 14 Manus, and in that one Manus there are 71 Dibya Yuga comes up. In one Dibya Yuga there are 4 Yugas: Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali. And in this similar way, so Brahma lives for 100 years. So one day and then one night. One day is 14 Manus. Again night, the length becomes of 14 Manus. In the similar way, Brahma lives for a whole year, as in our calculation. 30 days consist of 1 month, then 12 months consist of 1 year. So in this way, 36,000 kalpas happened for Brahma in a day of Brahma, and same equals number of nights. So 36,000 of kalpas in a day of Brahma, 30,000 of kalpas in the night of Brahma, and hence that comes out to be 311.04 trillion years. So 311 trillion years is the lifespan of Brahma as calculation by our age, our kind of what do you say, our yearly calculation, right? And just imagine this much of length of Brahma is his lifespan, right? And what happens whenever Krishna breathe out, it manifested. When he breathe in, it all get unmanifested or comes back again to Krishna's body, Mahavishnu's body, right? So this is the lifespan of Brahma, and gradually it comes lifespan of each yugas and we all living entity as well. And also it's been described that 24 hours of devatas is our 1 year. It's not in the picture here. So 24 hours of devata is it becomes 1 year of us, and 12,000 years of devatas, it becomes 4 yugas, right? Or hence how, and Lord Brahma lives for that 1,000 Kshatriya yugas. It becomes 1 day of Brahma. So like that way, Krishna says here, isn't it? In 17, let me go back again now. to this verse where Krishna says that thousands ages taken together from the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also duration of night. So that's like our human calculation. Does that make sense now? So that's what a kalpa is. Kalpa is the day of Brahma, which consists of 1,000 cycles of Chatu yugas, one after another. Right. And also Prabhupada mentioned that in the Kali Yuga, this current Kali Yuga, nearly we have passed 5,000 years. So just imagine there are 432,000 years. From there, 5,000 is already there, finished. So some 427,000 years are still remaining in this Kali Yuga. And even now also we can see how many people are envious, jealous, and just imagine how it will happen when Kali Yuga will completely dominate this universe. Right. And let's discuss about a bit about the annihilation. We discussed earlier, but let's go it again a bit. Yep. Let me share another screen. So this Krishna speaks about pralaya, right? So unmanifested. So I'll just discuss about this. There are 4 types of pralaya. This comes in 12th canto, optional Bhagavad. So pralaya is what? Annihilation. So what happens? One is called as naimittic annihilation or occasional. That is the partial annihilation. It happens at the end of Brahma's day. So whenever the day, it's very easy, like we'll go it. Whenever the night comes, we also get to sleep. So in a similar way, when night comes, everything's all get back again into this unmanifested forms. So that's the called as naimittika or partial. It's not completely pralaya, it's partial. And at the end of each Brahma's day. So when night comes, it naimittic pralaya, and again when day comes, it get manifested. Again night comes, it again naimittika. Right. And then second is called as elemental all prakritika. Prakritika means what? It's complete, basically once end of Lord Brahma's life. So 100 years Brahma has lived. And third is called as atyantika, this ultimate or Hare Krishna.
Sorry, Prabhu.
No, that's okay. I think someone saying something. Okay. So the third type of pralaya is atyantika, that is the ultimate, or when the jiva, this is the ultimate one actually, because this is ultimate. So when jiva or we living entities false ego is destroyed, when we understand that we are Krishna's part and parcel, and when we hanker to go back to the spiritual world, and then we go back to actually the spiritual world, living on this material world. That's one of the pralaya. Right. And the fourth is nitya. Nitya is constant. So constant is happening at every moment. All our body get old, though we don't see it, but actually it's happening at every time. Then only it becomes old, isn't it? We grow from child to old. It happening every seconds. The changes happening in our body. Right. So that's how 4 kinds of pralaya is there. Right. So this how the 4 kinds of pralaya happens. And the lifespan of Brahma is being described by Krishna. So we'll stop here and then we'll continue from text 19. Again, we discussed a bit of the 19 as well, but we'll continue again from text 19, 21, 22, 22. So 3 verses are still more there for discussion, but that will Krishna is going to say about his spiritual world. So these 3 are as of now what we discuss is all our material world, like how it comes into being, and then how it annihilated, what the life of Brahma, and all the yugas. So anyone have any questions or thought, we can discuss for a couple of more minutes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Very nice, interesting. I just have a question. Is as Krishna mentions that if we go to the spiritual world, we will not come back. we'll be there forever. I'm a bit confused. Maybe this is a topic to separately discuss, but then why did we come to the material world in the first place? I thought we were all part in the spiritual world, and
Yes, yes.
and then we came here. So then if we were there, then there's no reason for us to come here. So
Yes. So what happens? Even this question being asked by many times by many devotees to all the senior devotees, and definitely I also had these questions. So what happened? The devotees explain that sometime we do not actually know at what time we desire to enjoy ourselves alone without Krishna. So Krishna said, okay, you want to enjoy yourself alone, so I'll create a place for you so that you can try to enjoy there. And when you get frustrated, I'm there for you. Come back to me. So even again, the second question comes up again from this. So if we now understand that we are the part and parcel of Krishna, from time immemorial, we have forgot Krishna and we are here. So when we go back to Krishna's abode, so do we come back again? And then devotees explain that no, we don't come back again, because at the time Krishna will remind us that, remember, you had went earlier thinking that you want to enjoy yourself alone without Krishna, and then you understood and how much suffering you went through. So that's why you do not come back again. And that's why Krishna expressly explains many verses in Bhagavad Gita that anyone who comes back again, he do not go to the material world. So there was a, so it's like the devotee explained, like it's like family, right? A father is there, there are two sons, and just imagine a son say, okay, I don't want to live with you, I want to go out, and I want to enjoy, I want to work my own whole family, I don't want to depend on you. Okay, so his father say, okay, don't worry, you go there. And the devotee explained it very nicely. I'll just repeat it again. The devotee explained that, let's imagine there's a father, he's a very rich father, and his son, he says, okay, I don't want your money. Actually, I don't want your money. I want to build up my own. I'll go out and I'll earn, I'll work hard, and I'll do things. His father says, okay, no worries, you go. However, from the behind, his father arranged someone, and he said, okay, what, this my child is going away now from me, so you don't tell me, you don't tell him that I'm giving him, so you just employ him, you give him some earnings, and let him build his own, right? So in a similar way, we were the part of Krishna, we wanted to enjoy aside keeping Krishna. So Krishna said, okay, go there, but all the things what you will get is provided by Krishna himself, isn't it? So we are breathing because Krishna's provided this universe. We are drinking water, is Krishna's energy only. So just imagine, I think we are discussing earlier, Prabhupada mentions the purport that even there are so many big industries and factories, but they can't produce grains, they can't produce vegetables. We have to depend on the Mother Earth to get all these things, right? So the answer is, somehow or other, from time immemorial, we have tried to enjoy ourselves, like the same child don't want to enjoy his father's money, and he said, I will work hard, I'll do everything. So he went out, but behind the scene, his father is helping him to take care, to take his own shelter, to take his food and everything. In a similar way, and the story goes like, and later on, when he was well established, he got some more money and a bit well established, then this manager, he says, actually, this company and everything is actually established by your father only. So what you are getting, it's actually getting from your father too. So then this child comes back to his father. So in a similar way, we have derived from something from Krishna, but the spiritual master and the acharyas, they teach us that you were actually part of Krishna. You were the part of wealthiest father, but somehow or other you wanted to enjoy yourself, so you are in the material world. So now and go back to your father. What's the problem here, right? So the point is, somehow or other, we fell down from the spiritual world, trying to enjoy things without Krishna, and then Krishna has created this material world. So, and once we understand that actually we were a part of Krishna and we can't enjoy, we become frustrated, isn't it? It's a frustration to just build anything in this world. Though we say we are very powerful, but we can't do anything. We are completely dependent on this material nature, completely dependent on the Krishna's energy. Without that, we cannot even do anything. Right? And when we understand these things, that everything is actually happening because of Krishna, then we take shelter of Krishna, and Krishna says, okay, welcome my son, I'm there for you all the time. Right? Did that make sense?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much. That was a very nice explanation. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Okay, if there is no question, we will stop today here. And today we'll sing the bhajan again, Nitai Pada Kamala, because it's today is Nityananda appearance day. So we take shelter of Lord Nityananda Prabhu to bless us, so that he's actually his Adi Guru. So we take the path of spirituality to go ahead to, he give the strength for all of us to take another step towards approaching Krishna. Right. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की